Hi everyone, welcome back. And today we are going to discuss about the Central Processing Unit, that is called CPU in Programmable Logic Controller. So here the CPU, which is built into a single unit, that is called fixed PLC, or it may be in modular rack type PLC, etc. So which is a typically plug-in module. If you want to change, you can able to easily change. And this CPU, controller, processor and all the terms used in a different manufacturer to denote the same module, so that only we can able to perform all the operations and same functions. So here the processor may vary while during the processing, so that the corresponding speed and memory options. A microprocessor module can be divided into two sections. So one is called CPU section and another one is memory section. So the central processing unit, which is used to execute the programs, the tasks which were assigned, and while after the execution of the program, it gives the decisions that will be needed by the PLC, and which is used to operate and communicate with the other modules. So, and the second section is called memory section. The memory section, it electronically storing the PLC program along with other digital information which was to be transferred, or it is used to store the programming. So here this is the schematic diagram of the section of PLC sections modules, that is called power supply, and the processor module, it consists of two sections, one is CPU and another one is memory, and there will be a communication interface, and there will be an two input and output section. So that is nothing but two, either it may be input, that is a discrete input output devices or sections, or the digital, another one is analog input and output devices. Okay. So now the power supply is divided into three sections. So one is for the processor, it is for 5 volt DC power supply, and for the sensors, that is for input and output section, we are supplying the 24 volt DC power supply. So, and the processor module, the CPU which is used to execute the program, and so that after the execution of program, it generate some code or some informations. So after the execution, it makes some decisions. The decisions, it will be stored in the memory. So also the memory, which is used to store the information, and based on that information, it can be able to execute it. That information can be transferred through the input and output devices. Okay, so it may be either an input or analog, or it may be a digital type. Okay, so here for the processor, it is typically in need of 5 volt DC, and for the input and output module, it will be rack mount. It will be easily plugged into the backplane of the rack. So here the power supply input, it may be either 230 volt AC or it may be DC. So based on our requirement, it can be easily converted into DC. So which is required by the CPU, memory and input output sections. So here the CPU contains similar type of processor which is found in a personal computer. So here the microprocessor, which is used to design for the industrial control rather than to provide the general purpose for small applications, which is especially designed for the industrial purposes. Here the CPU, the central processing unit, it executes the operating system OS, managing the history, monitoring the input and evaluating the use of ladder diagram. So the CPU of a PLC system may contain more than one processor. So the one advantage of using this multiprocessing is that the overall operating speed is improved. And it has own memory and programs. It has own memory and programs. And third one, so each processor which is in parallel and independent, so that the total response time can be reduced. Fault tolerant PLC can be the fault tolerant system support is very critical process. And this system allow the user to configure the system with two processor. So that allow user to control to the second processor in the event of processor failure. And this is the static control procedure we have to follow at the time of maintenance or installation. So our body has to be grounded by touching the conductive surface before handling the static sensitive component. And we have to wear a resistor that provide a path to bleed off any charge that may build up during the break. Be careful not to touch the backplane connector or connector pin of the PLC, which is always I need to handle with the circuit card by the edge if possible. And do not touch the other component in a module. And when not in use, store module it is in static shield bag. And if available, use a static safe workstation. And this is an assessment. The memory section which is used to store. What is the purpose? What is the purpose of using the memory section? Put your answer in the comment section, and these are the few references. Thank you.